Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to the 7th edition of Cionext. We are just getting started. People are rolling in. So we are going live right now on YouTube. We are live on LinkedIn. We are live on Twitter. We are live on the Cionext website, on the Cionext app, and on Vimeo. And of course, a number of you have also joined us here today on Zoom. So we have prepared a wonderful conference for all of you. Cionext is our flagship conference. And so today we are celebrating digital leadership, basically. And what we are doing is we are bringing together the finalists of the European Digital Leader of the Year Awards from the public sector and from the finance sector. And so we will have a panel discussion with both these groups. But first of all, I would like to thank our sponsor, Google. Google Cloud is the sponsor of this conference. And so they are joining us here today as well. Several of their reps are with us here as well. A couple of house rules now that we get started. You will see that if you join us in Zoom, that there's a Q&A, so use that or use the chat to ventilate your questions. The chat is moderated, Luke is doing that, and so that you can join in the conversation. Please also introduce yourself. Who are you, where are you from, and how excited are you to join this conference? So let's get the chat started. We will also launch a number of debating questions in the chat in a moment as well. This web conference is recorded, and so it's well possible that if you see this, that you see this at a later moment. So I hope you enjoy this as well. So rename yourself if you're in Zoom with first name, last name, company, and then most important, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show that we have prepared for you here today. Cionext is a flipped conference. That means that all of the panelists that we are presenting to you here today, we have already done long format video interviews with them. So if you go to cionext.tv, you will end up on our YouTube channel, and there you will see the video that we've done of Guido, Lemeire, of Sven, Egyedy, of Elena, Liria, Marco Moretti, and Aion Hancock, who are the finalists for the public sector European Digital Leader of the Year. And you will also find there the videos of Krzysztof Dąbrowski, Melanie, Kehr, of Tomasz, Motyl, Kristin, Lindmark, Filipe Teixeira, and Tarun, Kohli, who are our finalists in the finance sector category. So if you do one thing at least today, it is that you should subscribe to Cionext TV. We're bringing out about 50 of these long format leadership deep dive interviews where we talk with top digital leaders around the globe on what they have accomplished, how they organize their teams, how they organize themselves, how they are as leaders, managers, and we talk about their values in life and how they are wired as a successful digital leader. Cionext 7 is this edition, so that means that we have already done 6 of these. We started the Cionext series on 14th of February, even before the first lockdown of 2020. And since then, we have done 6. The last one was in June of this year. And we're not going to stop. So we have 2 more lined up for later this year. One is on the 10th of November, where we will again bring you the European Digital Leader of the Year finalists, but then in the B2B and the B2C category. So we run this program in 4 different categories. And so on the 10th of November, it's B2B and B2C. We also have, for the first time, a Cionext conference for North America, and that's going to take place on the 8th of December. And the title for that is Beyond Incremental Transformation. I mean, we want disruptive, we want big time transformations. If you only do incremental stuff, that is not real transformation. So that's a topic that we will be discussing, and that is, we'll look at leadership in that context, and that is a program sponsored by Red Hat and Intel. Now I would like to ask Nils to join me on stage here. So Kasia, if you could also please spotlight Nils. And then there we are. So Nils, thank you so much for joining us here today. Nils, you're a research scientist at MIT CISR, the Center for Information Systems Research. You're based in the beautiful city of Madrid. And so Nils, we've been collaborating on the European Digital Leader of the Year program for 10 years now. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Sure. Well, first, I am thrilled to be back here. And again, congratulations to all the finalists. Thank you for participating. Hendrik and I started this over 10 years ago for 2 reasons. We wanted to first celebrate the accomplishments of chief information officers, really highlight the range of business value that they create for their organizations. And then second, we wanted to provide Europe with more role models, really inspire the next generation of digital leaders based on the accomplishments of Europe's current CIOs. And you'll recall that just a few years ago, we actually expanded the theme from Chief Information Officer to Chief Digital Officer, because the importance of these leaders has only grown, right? And now we want to celebrate all the finalists because they are role models for the entire top management teams of organizations in both the public and private sector.
Yeah, so happy to collaborate on this, Nils. Please stay with us. Nils will also be co-moderating the panel discussions that we will be having. Because that's next on our agenda is at 14:40, we will have a 1-hour panel discussion in the finance sector. And by the way, we will focus on data and analytics. I mean, data is becoming so important, data from citizens, data from clients, and so on and so on. So organizing that, creating value out of that is such an important role, and IT has such an important role in there. After that, we'll do half an hour breakout session, and then we'll come back 10 after 4 for the second panel discussion for the public sector. At 10 past 5, we have Inès Kouraïchi from Google Cloud, who's going to join us. And so we'll discuss how Google Cloud is looking at data and analytics. And then 20 past 5 is the moment we have all been waiting for. And that is when we will be announcing the winners of the European Digital Leader of the Year Awards. Very important to mention is that all the finalists are winners. I mean, we have to select one in each category, but it is important to note that all of you are winners and are very distinguished and successful digital leaders. And so we finish up by 5:30 today. But before we get started, I would like to see if Neil Price is already with us. And if Neil could switch on his video, unmute himself. And I'm checking with the team here if Neil is coming on board. And Neil is the practice leader for CIO and executive technology leadership. So he's leading that in the Harvey Nash group. So I'm checking up. We have not seen Neil yet. So he's missing his 1 minute of fame. So if you could spotlight Luc Hendricks, so that Luc could explain, in fact, what we are doing together with MIT CISR and Harvey Nash. Luc, you are the new Neil Price here.
Glad to be that. Thank you very much for the opportunity. So this is the 23rd time that Harvey Nash is conducting the digital leadership study Formerly, it was known as a CIO survey, but with the CIO title becoming more and more diversified, they decided to rename it this year. And we're really honored to be part of this initiative together with MIT CISR and Harvey Nash, because this is really the biggest study on CIO-related topics around the world. Last year, there was about 4,000 people who voiced their opinion, and at the moment, we're well over halfway in that group already. So we would very much like you to also give your opinions and share your insights, and you can participate in the survey on link.cionet.com/HN. I'll also be putting that in the chat in a moment, so you can click on it straight through. But it'll take you about 15-20 minutes to voice your opinion. And then later on, you'll have full access to the complete report, and you'll be able to also come to us later on if you need specific insights in subsections, because as CIONet, we'll have full insights in the full detailed data as well. So I would very much like to encourage you to take part in this, and I'm sure that there will be great value in it for you all.
Okay, thank you so much for explaining that, Luc. A very exciting development, I think, where we collaborate again with MIT CISR and Harvey Nash on this very, very important CIO survey. So we are, I think, about ready to get started with the first panel, and we're right on time. So if I could ask the team to bring the panelists from the finance sector and to spotlight them. So if you could, panelists from finance sector, if you could unmute, and if you could switch on your video so that we can spotlight you. So we have with us here today Krzysztof Dąbrowski, who is from mBank. We have with us Melanie Kehr, who is CIO, COO of KfW. Welcome, Melanie. Tomasz Motyl is CIO of Aion Bank. So he is based between Brussels and Warsaw, I guess. We'll get more information on that in a moment. Kristin, welcome. Kristin Lindmark, CIO of SPP. You come to us from Sweden. Filipe Teixeira is the CIO of ilimity out of Italy. And Tarun is with us as well. Tarun is today at Swiss Re, and he comes to us from London. So this is the panel that we will have a great discussion with for the next hour. And what I would like to do is all of you, just for 1 minute, to introduce yourself. So tell us who you are, what is your organization, because not necessarily all the names that we have here from companies ring a bell to everybody. So tell us what your company is all about, what your function is, and then also as an icebreaker, if you would not have become a CIO, what was the dream when you were younger? Were you going to be a rock artist? Were you going to be an architect? What was your dream besides being a CIO? Now, of course, you're very happy doing that. So what would be your alternative for being a CIO? So maybe Tomasz, Motyl, if we could start with you, please give us the short introduction.
Good afternoon to everyone. So Tomasz Motyl, as was already presented by Hendrik, of course, I'm traveling a lot. I used to traveling a lot between the Brussels, Warsaw, and different places before the COVID situation, but nowadays is rather not so common. And I'm presenting the Aion Bank. So let's call this the new kid in the block, meaning that we are just in the market for the 2 years, but the project itself lasts for the last 3 years. What I'm doing, I'm the CIO of the bank itself. By my root is coming to the full IT, say, deliver a different system, and what we are doing now and what we're preparing for this is rather the platform for us and for the others, the clients and the bank as a service. And what I dreamed before, I would like to be I want to be the truck driver. The truck, they're having the big trucks going from the one place to another one, so maybe from Krakow to Brussels and vice versa, and then the west and the east coast of America. There's a dream for me still, and maybe that's why I'm still like very much CUV, and I have the big cars nowadays. So that's all in nutshell about me.
Okay, so Tomasz, the truck driver, very warm welcome to you. Aion Bank being a new contender on the market. Let's go directly to Filipe. I mean, because also ilimity is a neobank. Filipe, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Yes, I'm Filipe Teixeira. I'm the CIO of ilimity Bank. We are the other new kid on the block, let's say. We started a couple of years ago in 2019. We are a very technological bank. We are mainly focused on three kind of businesses: direct banking for retail and small and medium companies. We do very specialized lending for small medium companies, and we do management of acquisition and management of distressed credit portfolios. We started a few years ago. We are very technological. We were the first cloud native bank in Italy, and we had the two first years which were very positive despite the COVID crisis. We faced a lot of challenges, not only myself and as a CIO, but the whole company, starting from really from scratch, from nothing. And if I were not the CIO of ilimity, I would be maybe still in Portugal, trying to make a career in sport. But I don't think I would have a lot of success in sport. Maybe more in kind of sport management. But my real dream when I was young maybe was to be a space traveler and going to space. And I still hope someday I can achieve this dream, just only for a few minutes.
Okay, thank you so much, astronaut Filipe, for introducing yourself. So we have two challengers here, two startup banks, neobanks, and Krzysztof, you're from mBank, a very established bank in Poland. You're on the other spectrum, end of the spectrum, let's say. Could you please introduce yourself?
I don't consider myself to be at the end of the spectrum, because mBank was the original fintech of Poland. So it was a challenger bank, it was a startup. I'm literally like my two predecessors, but just a bit older. So that's how we see it. So that was a short introduction of mBank. So compared to my friends, we ended up having the whole portfolio of the universal bank, left to right, from corporate to retail. And I'm happy to be responsible for the IT, security, and operations in mBank. And I think I'm not going to be very original, actually. So my alternative career path would also be connected with computers. I probably would like to do the game programming. I never made this choice in life, although it was very close, because I'm not sure how much you're exposed to it. It's a kind of extreme sport when it comes to the software development, and I decided on less risky, let's say, adventures.
Okay, game programmer Krzysztof, very warm welcome. So let's go to let's say a special kind of bank. Melanie, you come to us from Germany. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, KfW, and what would you have become if it was not a CIO?
Thank you, Hendrik. Yeah, Melanie Kehr is my name. I'm member of the executive board of KfW, being responsible for IT, transaction management, and central services. And KfW might not be so popular, but I think in last year we really received a lot of attention because we are one of the world's leading promotional banks, and it's our mission to improve the economic, social, and environmental living conditions across the whole world. We are doing this on behalf of the German government, and we take this role very seriously. And that's why I'm very happy to talk today about the combination of data and sustainability. I think the question, what would I have done if I were not in IT? When I was younger, I never thought about IT. I was always an outdoor person, and I was always looking forward to get closer to the stars, and something is left there. I'm loving the mountains still, and we love to be outside. So that's my main.
Okay, That's better. So we're recording again. Very, very good. So living in the mountains was your dream. Is that a career then as well, Melanie? Or
a career? No, it's a hobby. And I think it's very important to have something besides the career as well. And it's connected with family life as well. So not only KfW is my passion.
So mountaineer, Melanie, a very warm welcome. So I suggest now from the banks, we go to the insurance companies. And maybe Kristin, we start with you. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, SPP, you come to us from Sweden. And what was your dream when, as a child, what would you wanted to become?
So my name is Kristin Lindmark. I'm the CIO of SPP, and SPP is part of StoreBrand Group, so one of the major players in the Nordics when it comes to long-term savings and insurance. And so we're on the other side of the spectrum because we have about 253 years in the group. So we go way back, and I think in that comes great pride in our history, but also a big responsibility in actually bringing us forward into the future. I always dreamt of becoming a CIO, of course. Maybe not really. I think I wanted to be journalist actually. But if I should choose something now, I probably would work with the horses to do something.
Horses and journalism is your thing, Kristin. Very warm welcome.
Thank you.
So last but not least, Tarun, you come to us from London. Please tell us a bit more about yourself, about Swiss Re, and what was your dream?
Thanks, Hendrik. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Managing Director and Head of New Propositions at Swiss Re, the global reinsurer. Our purpose is to make the world more resilient. And especially if I look in the last 18 months during the pandemic, we, like other reinsurers, have played a very important role of acting as a shock absorber for the society. In my current role, it's all about digital transformation, working with the businesses to come up with new business models, innovative ways to monetize, striking new partnerships, pushing the platform and ecosystem play. So quite an interesting role. I joined Swiss Re earlier this year, after spending 5 years with Prudential before, and 10 years with BP. So kind of all large brands. In terms of had I not become a technology or a digital leader, I might have pursued a full-time yoga instructor as a career. Very much attracted to yoga, and I think in the corporate world we now give a lot of emphasis to the mindfulness, and again especially with the teams now being remote and the importance of physical well-being, it is now part of the corporate vocabulary. But yoga is clearly my hobby, something that I practice every day.
Okay, perfect. So yoga teacher Tarun, very warm welcome to you. And so Nils, I suggest that you kick off the
Sure.
discussion on data analytics. If you could please poll the panel on that topic.
Absolutely. So what we intend to do for the participants joining us is really tap into the collective intelligence of you, the finalists, to understand two things. First, if you could share a recent accomplishment of how you've created value for your organization, leveraging data and analytics. And then we'll first get a sense of the range of accomplishments and how you've really created value from data and analytics. And then I'll ask you to highlight some key critical success factors, like a critical success factor. As we share critical success factors, please, this is a conversation, so I'm sure some of you will highlight some common critical success factors. Feel free to just jump in. Don't expect me to have to be the one to designate who speaks next. We want this to be lively and most important, to be insightful for all of those participating. So who would want to start with sharing how they really realized value from data and analytics?
If you don't mind. Oh, sorry. Melanie, please.
Sure. Kristin?
In SPP, we have done a digital transformation with a complete core renewal over the last couple of years, and are now in the middle of modernizing our customer meeting. And in that, the access and use of data is, of course, essential. And we are not much more better positioned now to become more precise and relevant to our customers. And I'm going to give you one example of what we're doing. StoreBrand and SPP have been working with sustainable investments for over 25 years. And sustainability is part of our DNA. Corporate Knights have named us the most sustainable insurance company in the world. So we know that we're good at this, but we also know that we're not been great at sharing to our customers what that really means for them. And 50% of the world's stock markets are pensions savings. So there is a real power in this capital to push the world in the right directions. But then you need to know what to do, and you need to get access to the data to make the right decisions. So this year we launched an application to our customers called the Sustainability Map. So that's based on several sources, external and from our asset management, of course, that visualize data so that our customers can make those data-driven decisions, proving that the requirements that they put on the pension investments, they really make a difference. So they can, for example, see their climate footprint, the percentage of fossil-free savings, and the sustainability level. So in that sense, it's a tool for them to bring into their annual reports and sustainability reports, and also for employee branding and strengthen their sustainability profile. And we know that this is really important. And for us, the expected returns are, of course, to improve sales and stickiness to those companies, and also to prove that we are those digital leaders and innovative players in the market that we want to be. And this project is now in the finals in the CIO Awards in Sweden for most sustainable project of the year. So that's really exciting. And I think one fun fact in this area is also that the idea came out of the hackathon that we had last year. So that also proves the importance of having innovation in a structured way in your company.
Absolutely. So that's fantastic. That's a really nice example of using data to enhance the value that you provide to customers. And the hypothesis is by doing so, you'll increase stickiness, hopefully increase revenue per customer, not simply revenue per product or service. Fantastic. Very cool. Who else wants to? Tomasz, you were going to jump in.
Yes. So if you don't mind, some of my say examples going to that direction. But we had the chance to make the whole digital transformation from the quite old legacy bank to the new one in the short term. But we are just in this 1.5 year on the market. So maybe we did it not everything what it could be done, but coming from the roots, it is that we want to deliver and capture all the data from the very beginning. If we are not even using it now, for sure will be needed for later. So I think that the important thing is no matter how big project you want to do with the data or what you want to do or make the transformation itself, it's good to have in your blood, that you have to have the appropriate data-driven models, the data which can be captured from different places. Even at the very beginning, where you don't know what to do, it's better to have this data, put into the data lake and wait. Because some days you need to maybe extend your database and you get no idea from where to come these things. So nowadays, when the cost of the storage and cost of the calculation is decreasing, using especially the cloud computing, it's good to have this from the very beginning on your radar. But no matter what kind of project you want to do, it's good to have to capture data, take it, digest them, have the insight, move one step ahead, check once again the data, and move the next steps, because it's not the holy grail that you can just do everything with the data. But there's a whole process. It's not just the one shot you can do with everything, but this has to be repeated every time, all over the world, during your whole journey.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Who else wants to share a key accomplishment?
I can go next. So clearly, for insurers, reinsurers, data is quite key, right? It cuts through several disciplines, and if we want to have an underwriting excellence, it is really important that we are able to ingest large volumes of data and then use to create risk insights for our clients. And then we've got a number of strategic partnerships that we announced recently. The partnership with radar satellite-based flood monitoring provider called IC, where we are combining our risk knowledge with data from IC to advance flood risk management, assess disaster response, expedite claims globally, or the rollout of climate risk solutions, where we are assessing and quantifying the physical climate risk for the insurance clients. So a number of initiatives that are going on. But the key one I want to highlight is that overcoming technological barriers are relatively easy. The difficulty is the changing mindset and the cultural change, which is critical for the successful digital transformation. And in the last couple of months, my team has set up what we're calling as a rapid prototyping lab. And the vision is to provide that as a service to the group using hothouse methodology, something that I had used in my time at Prudential. And essentially it is, the value is to shorten the cycle time from ideation to MVP. And therefore, the teams come together in a cross-functional group for 48 hours. And the intention is to have, in those sessions, clickable prototypes. And then you can have refinement of business models. You can have validation of startup solutions. We can provide the technical preconditions, data sharing, data security, and access to development. But that's the motive, which is how do we make sure that we can act like a startup and therefore do things very rapidly. And if the clickable prototypes are not going to be fruitful, it is absolutely okay to kill and move to the next one. So that's the that's the purpose of the rapid prototyping lab, which thanks to my team, they've made it operational in a matter of weeks.
And I definitely want to explore that idea further with all of you, because my research finds that leveraging data to help employees engage in much more experimentation, take much more of a test and learn approach to innovation is a critical success factor. So when we explore critical success factors for enabling your achievements with regards to data, this is definitely a topic I want to cover. So I'm glad you brought that up. Melanie, you wanted to share an accomplishment that you're especially proud of?
Sure. So my statement is we need a data-driven approach to sustainability because, of course, we truly see that this is the greatest challenge we currently have worldwide. And if we want to give a world to the future generations that is worth living, it's very important for us to take action now. And I truly believe, therefore, we need to use data. We need significant investments, and we want to make sure that every euro spent is spent wisely. And if we look at our role now as promotional bank, I would like to give an example. We provided funds totaling 135 billion euros last year, of course, also due to the Corona programs. 33% of that to climate and environmental projects. So now it's very important to understand what is the impact of this. So we are talking about euros, but at the end, we are committed to the Paris Climate Agreement, and we received the mandate last year from the ministries that it's our job to transform to a transformative bank, to make sure that we support the economy to move to a climate neutral portfolio to 2050. And therefore it's important to have now a measurement, a KPI framework to make sure the investments, the funds we are doing, the commitments are addressing those future goals. And we need to measure these. Therefore, we need data. And we set up a project, we call it Transform, with many different pillars, which is very broad setup, but one pillar I want to take today and talk about this, and we call it the impact management. So the challenges coming from all the euros of the investments, we want to measure the impact not only on climate change, but we look at the 17 SDG goals of the United Nations. So how do we do that? We set up a group-wide KPI framework, and now we try to identify which data do we have available and where do we get more data to make sure we can measure the impact. And to understand what that means, I would like to share 2 examples. So we are financing charging points for electric cars, and I can give you the euros or the number of transactions, but what is important for us is to find out the contribution of the reduction of greenhouse gases. And it's not that easy to calculate these because we need to retrieve the data to find out how many kilometers are driven with these electric cars to come to that number. A second example is we, for example, finance wind farms. And also there, we don't want to talk about the euros, but about the reduction of greenhouse gases. And this sounds so easy, but how do we actually get to that data? We are currently creating an app where we want to ask the end customer to give us more information so we can actually measure the impact. This sounds very interesting, but you asked about our achievements. I'm very happy to share that we are exactly at the beginning. And if you look at global discussions, for example, there was this week in Paris, the conference on statistics for sustainable finance, where Sabine Mauderer, she's a member of the executive board of Deutsche Bundesbank, also stressed the necessity to build a sustainable finance data universe. And this is also something we have in our mind, and we try to identify how we can get there and what are the expected returns. And these are transparency. So we want to see what we are actually doing. We want to control the funding better. We want to give us strategic hints where to head and where, together with the federal state of Germany, which initiatives are the most productive ones. So if we take €1 of German tax money, what is the biggest impact we can achieve with that euro? And we actually want to collect valuable data and also share that with the economy, with our financing partners, the German banking network, to make sure that we get the biggest impact out of that and move forward. And I would say we are still at the beginning. To look at the technical part, I think it's also very similar to what we have heard here. We are using cloud computing, basically because of 3 reasons. The first one is we enable an easy exchange with external resources, because we don't want to look at our own data only, we need our network. Secondly, we gain higher speed and flexibility in the development. And thirdly, it's the basis for future data analytics, because for sure, gaining more data gives us more opportunities to make something out of that. The second is this app I mentioned, the Capture app for end customers to give us the data and provide us with the data. And we also are defining API interfaces for input-output sharing. So I think it's a big task we have there, and it's very exciting for us to be in the middle, and we already see very good progress. As I mentioned, we have a set of over 40 KPIs, but we still need to find out where this is leading us. And I think it's not only a topic for KfW, it's really a topic for all of us to be part of this data universe for sustainability.
And I love how you emphasize the anchoring of all of these investments in value. Increasingly, I see this as essential within large companies like those represented here. so that the top management team can really ensure that the scarce resources that they have in terms of both financial resources, but especially people, really ensure that they go to those initiatives internally that are adding the most value strategically to the organization. And that forces the top management team to be clear about, well, what is the value that we're aiming for, and how do we assess whether we're making progress on that or not? So your collaboration with others to identify what KPIs, what are the best ways to measure progress is fundamental, because that also obviously is a learning journey, right? And so that resonates with what I'm finding. I think that's really key.
I can add one more thing, because this is a big chance and a big challenge at the same time, because you were asking about the challenges. For sure, it's the availability of data, but it's also our way of approaching data and making use of it. And I would mention these 2 points actually for us.
I absolutely agree. Thank you. And we'll come back collectively to keep exploring these critical success factors. But I want to give the audience a sense of the breadth of accomplishments. I'm aware of them because I've read all of your accomplishments, but I want to make sure we communicate them to the audience. So Filipe, can you share an accomplishment that you're especially proud of that really leverages data? And then we'll go to Krzysztof as well.
Of course. I will use a very simple example. Let's consider that we start with ilimity at the end of 2018 from nothing, and we had to build from scratch a whole information company, not only from a business perspective, but also all the functions that are the central function and need data to monitor and to be compliant with regulatory purposes or with accounting, and to manage the numbers and the KPIs of the company. We had, let's say, the opportunity to build this information system entirely cloud-based, and this was really, let's say, critical KPI factor of success for ilimity, and it was completely API based. So we were immediately able to access data and to measure data and to have, let's say, real-time analysis on what we were building, on the business we were also creating. And coming to data and machine learning or artificial intelligence, a specific point that I'm very proud of in ilimity is that despite the emergency on building the 3 business lines and all the information system for the company, we were able to build a data architecture, very simple, very linear, gathering all the data from our third parties, which we are connected through APIs, but have all the data real time or loaded consistently on a unique data lake, ensuring the data linearity of the data, its quality, its ownership, its KPIs, in the manner that all the data that is used by business to take business decisions, by risk to monitor the portfolio quality and all the KPIs that are necessary for the company, but also the management and the accounting, everybody in the company is able to access the same data for different purposes. And then we had a very strong decision in ilimity. It was to ensure that we are using modern technologies and to have people that are able to leverage on modern technologies to extract intelligence from data. And we have a very decentralized model for data usage in the company that can go from business purposes to do KPIs and to do models on which is the next best action to interact with our customers, or from our risk department, which is able to build very complex models to forecast on our regulatory capital, but also on our accounting and our model, but also, for example, on IT for IT purposes, to be able to monitor our level of service of our infrastructure in order to really have the very detailed parameterization configuration of our system to be the most efficient possible. But also we are looking at all the data that is coming from our cloud provider for ESG purposes, but also from our HR department. We know that during the COVID, our way of working changed a lot. There are a lot of people that is many times in a lot of its time in meetings, a lot of emails. We are overwhelming by this tsunami of information, but this digital information. And so we are able also, leveraging on cloud, to extract metadata to understand which are the teams that are more under stress, how many time we spend in meetings, how many time how many mails we receive by day, how many times we are, let's say, disturbed by chatting during the meetings, in order also to calibrating the way we are working and to be, let's say, not only a company where we work and we have a lot of passion, but also we try to find the right balance between personal time and time to work.
I love that. I really think I want to highlight multiple times your use of data to enhance the employee experience and strengthen the employee experience, because our research, and I'm sure your experiences, underscore the fact that to have amazing customer experience, firms need to have amazing employee experience. And to use the data like you're using to try to almost like predictive maintenance to ensure and mitigate burnout or other risks to employees sounds fantastic. Krzysztof, how about yourself at mBank? And I love how you described mBank, because I too consider it more of a teenager now relative to some of the newer banks. But I've been following you folks for quite a while when you were one of the new ones, but you're now more of a teenager.
Yeah. So because of our legacy, and our legacy was that when first we noticed that the thing called internet, we decided to start the banking on internet. So we need to keep this legacy. So I was thinking what example of innovative data analytics I can share with you. There are quite a bit of things that are going on in mBank. Some of them, which we are very proud of, are actually in the security department, and that's not what I'm going to talk about today for some obvious reasons. But I picked an example from the operations world. I mean, we never did any digital transformation, so that's a bit of a problem for us, because everybody's doing a digital transformation, and if you start as a digital bank, I mean, there's little point in doing digital transformation. So what we have actually quite a bit of data in our systems already. And one example of such data is a lot of our processes are being performed in the BPM plus systems. So we have literally tons of data about our processes. The runtime data, so how those processes are being used, what paths customers are taking, etc., etc. So some time ago, we've got interested in the technique called process mining, and I mean, our vision with such technologies is always to deploy it at scale. Yeah, so it's small exercises are good for the beginning to get a taste, but in order to have a real business impact, we want implementation at scale. And so we did, and we did the process mining of our largest BPM system. So we could, for the first time, actually see in very good details the hundreds of retail processes that we are running. And I'm talking seeing means seeing not only the process itself, but also how it's being used. So all of the statistics, all of the runtime data. And obviously, because this is, as you said, we are the teenager, so the processes are not clean, not nice, etc. Because this is the whole history of the bank. So they maybe used to be nice one day, but they got additions, changes, updates, etc. And they are working. And in many cases, we even think that we are happy with that. But if you do a process mining, suddenly you notice problems with them. And so far, so good. But what we realize is that we don't really have enough people with deep process mining and process knowledge. So what's the point of actually doing the process mining, showing this nice information, if you just have a handful of people who can make use of it? So what we were thinking about, not democratizing access to the data, because the whole access wasn't really solving the problem. We were thinking about democratizing access to the outcomes or the conclusions, let's say, that are coming from this data. So what we prepared was, we prepared a set of what we call the process patterns. So this is a bit from software engineering world, but we think that it might be partially even our invention to a certain degree. The invention by transplantation, let's put it like this. So we created a set of patterns, or it's better to say anti-patterns, of the things that are being done in the process design, to make the task of actually finding problems easier. And then we went one step further. So we started to write a software to actually automatically detect those anti-patterns in our processes. And it's already, let's say, in a beta version for the first patterns. But so the outcome of it is to literally take the process data, go through the process mining, emit all of this analysis, but then from this analysis automatically produce something actionable for the team leader who is working in operations. So the person, she or he, will get 1 or 2 or 3 suggestions that literally in your process you have this problem here, this problem here, this problem here. And by the way, the typical way to solve this problem is this, this, and that. Yeah, and this is basically enabling us to deploy the process mining or the outcomes of process mining at scale. And because we have quite ambitious targets every year for operations to optimize, this is another brick for ops to make them reach those optimization targets.
This is fantastic, and again, I'm familiar a bit because we've studied you folks before. One of the things that's remarkable about mBank is how from the beginning they've created a modular architecture for their operations, for their operational backbone, and that's enabled them to be much more operationally agile and resilient, and then to explore new markets, new sources of revenue, new partnerships in quick ways that don't add to the spaghetti, to the operational spaghetti or operational complexity. So learning about how you're using data to better understand those processes so that as mBank grows in its teenage years, it can still retain that modularity in its operations is essential for controlling cost, improving agility. So that's also amazing. So thank you. So we've heard a range of ways that all of you are leveraging data to generate a range of value for your organizations, right? For employees in the organization, for the way your organization operates, for the kind of value you're creating for existing customers, and the way you're exploring completely new sources of value for new customers. I mean, you've got the whole range there. And so I want to now, in the time that remains, I'd love for you to highlight some of the critical success factors. Several of you mentioned the change in culture. And if you could give us some more concrete examples of what that looks like, what's really helped you over the last year and a half that you would highlight to others in the audience that are keen to leverage data in the same way you have. What would you highlight?
I can add one, which is we don't need to start from the big data and analytics. You know, a lot of times, you know, I see that people are trying to start with the technology solution, and it looks like it's a solution trying to find the problem. I saw that number of times with big data and analytics when blockchain was the hype, a couple of years ago, and again now, it was like trying to fit that solution to the problem. So I think one important critical success factor is to start with the business problem, and then the solution could be big data analytics or could be something else. And most of the innovation has to be, you mentioned value, has to quantify the value that it can generate. And it could be efficiency, it could be enabling growth, it could be access to new geographies, it could be creating a competitive advantage, the secret recipe that could be sustainable. But very important that we don't start with the solution, we start with the business problem.
That's fantastic. And Kristin?
I couldn't agree more. I think that we're understanding the job to be done and understanding the customer needs and keep the solution simple and test it. I think that's the importance. And then, so not trying to use machine learning if it's not really needed, because the solution is probably just could be right in front of you, and just so I think that coming back to technology is one part, but the people is the key, definitely, and getting the people with the right skills, of course, but with the right mindset, forward-leaning, understanding the business needs. And I think we have worked really hard in SPP over the last 2-3 years to really get that closeness to our business. And in scaled agile ways of working, that has improved output dramatically. So very important.
I would like to add as well,
sure.
Tarun, Kristin, I couldn't agree more to what you were saying. I also love the problem, not the solution. That's key. But at the same time, it's very important to combine the skills, because if we are waiting for the business problem to come around, maybe we lose the chances that we can achieve via technology. So to work together closely, I think, is key, and that's one little thing. I'm sure that's in your minds as well.
Can you elaborate a little more on how you put that in practice? Because I've seen a couple of ways, cross-functional teams, but I've also seen, and I don't know if any of you are doing this, where for key initiatives you have two co-founders, someone from digital and someone from more representing the end user interests. Does any of that resonate for how do you put this combination of skills into practice? Because I think that's key.
Yes, we actually think the same, and it's important to have virtual teams closely working together, whether you call them cross-functional or whether we're in the Scrum logic, but we try to really take people from the different areas. So from the strategic guys, also the people working more closely with the customers, but also the IT guys. We have a digital office that is also pushing us a lot, and we need to bring these together to elaborate. So it's crossing the silos within the organization, but in a very structured way, not waiting for people to get together, but really doing this in a structured way. So we are organized via Scrum teams, where we think of the skills that we need, we put them together, and we scale these, we call it, in building blocks, and need to make sure that we are learning together. We need to try things out. We need to pilot or to produce pilots, and also to always go back and see how we can improve the quality of data, for example. And we are very much used to have very, very profound results. And I think that's for us sometimes a cultural change, because in innovation, you're not always very sure about the solution. You need to try out. And if we retrieve new data and get the first results, it's also a little difficult to judge whether these are perfectly correct or just giving a direction. But we need to start.
I will take that analogy even further, Nils. So not only the cross-functional team, but we should also include the customers and the clients as part of that prototype. If it's a B2C business, having some early focus groups with the interested customers will help. For the B2B, it is relatively straightforward. Either you've got your existing clients where you share the idea, share what's the art of possible here. But really important that it's a co-development with the clients, and then you can iterate and refine. One of the pitfalls is, tech people doing stuff that they think will work.
I think that nowadays,
Maybe,
when we have all this data, which you have, we should avoid all this kind of the silos which you can have in the company. Nowadays, the problems in front of us, we have to find the right people who will tackle this issue and find the proper, not just the tools, but the approach, how to resolve it. As already was mentioned, the tools are just behind the corner. It was already mentioned by Filipe about the one source of truth, or by Melanie about the cloud. So the tools are already there. So if you have, the problems on the front of us, it's not just the aim to resolve it by the IT, by the risk team, or but anybody else. This is the team have the one aim and the one KPI to resolve it. And what they use to resolve it is just in their hands. So it can be everything what they can. One, of course, we can give them the tool set for that, but you have to give them the freedom, because maybe in that case they will find the way how to do it. And for me, the successful factor is definitely the one source of the truth, which can give us the freedom for all the data. So the silos should be taken out, and one aim, one KPI for even the small team, about the 12 people, to face the problem.
And the solution is probably not only within your organizations. I think the ability to work in partnership is going to be so essential. So don't invent the wheel if someone has done it already, and find the partnership. And I think it's really important to this industry to get out of this monolithic thinking and work in the ecosystem.
That's why it's so important. So that's why it's important to say this API connectivity, which already described by Melanie, about how we extend the data, how to see this is our impact of this defining why Euro to what we are doing. So I think that more and more, I say, the companies are more open to just to share this information and to see this insight. Like we have the chance to discuss it here about the Cionext. But we are, I think, more willing to do it nowadays, especially during the COVID time, when we want to do something better for the future. So it's not that I think this is our possibility for the next couple of the quarter to be focused on that.
I think, if I may slightly steer in another direction, it's not to disagree with the opinions, because I share most of them, but I think maybe I will be coming to the example that I have given. There is a huge resource problem in IT in general. So it's all nice to have all of these cross-functional teams, but I might not be able to staff them because I just don't have enough data scientists, because the ratio of data scientists versus, let's say, the typical business colleagues is probably like 1 to a few hundreds in certain organizations. So I think that, and then there are already some solutions for some tough problems, but those solutions are, I would say, not user-friendly. So if you are a data scientist, you can grab 2 developers, you can even make your cross-functional team, in the sense that you will have some progressive business people in this team that will intellectually invest in the problem, and you might get something done. But then if you want to scale it up, make it operational, make it actually usable by many people on the organization, in many cases you actually hit the wall, because even if you have solution, it looks like it's a bit too complex. So on one hand, this problem solving in a small groups will always remain, because there are sometimes, or many times, tough problems that can be solved in one place and it's done. It's solved for the whole company. But there are many other problems when the only way for you to realize the full potential is to first solve the problem, then make the solution simple for every, as we say in Poland, Jan Kowalski, I don't know, like typical employee from wherever, that they can just use it as they use Excel. And I know that I'm asking for much. But the example that I'm giving, my team leader in operations, this is the person who knows, for instance, the credit process. And they spend their life doing the underwriting, for instance. they will never be IT specialists. So either I give them the tool that can tell something to them in their domain, and then they will do much more than anybody can expect, or there will be always this divide, this complicated stuff that those data scientists are doing. And I think in many cases, I think this is the huge challenge, and this is what makes the regular life in the companies so far away from the shiny pictures of the IT innovations that we can read on the internet.
Maybe Nils, I would like to
Filipe, yeah.
Yes, I would like to add my perspective on which were the key success factors in ilimity. Of course, to be close to business is mandatory in the area we are living. I always say to my team, you don't have IT goals, you have business goals, you have company goals. When you accept that, you will speak with on the, let's say, cross-skilled team in a very different manner, because you understand that your goal is not an IT goal, but because we all have the same company goal, the same business goal. But in our, let's say, in our case, I would say that one of the key factor that allowed us to have the success and to reach the break-even, to have results fast enough, was to accept very simple limits. We all have, let's say, limited resource in terms of economical resources and in terms of human capital resources. And one of the key points was to keep the things simple and to focus the strategy on what is core business for us as company and as a team. As an IT team, for the IT of ilimity, managing data center, managing network, building in a manual way software, or doing some custom solutions which are not close to the core business, was not strategic for us. So we really aligned our IT investment, our IT strategy with the business strategy. We will not spend resources in managing data centers. We will not spending resources on managing network. We will not spend resources in managing hardware. So we applied a lot of automation. We applied a real DevOps platform to be fast, secure. We include security in our DevOps chain. We automate a lot of our, let's say, IT for IT chain in order to allocate economical resources and people resources to closely work with business, defining business, new business models, leveraging on the data interpretation, interpreting data that is coming from different sources of our customers, and to understand where the market is going, on which kind of business model can we offer to our customers in the digital era. I consider my IT guys as business, because we are in digital business, and if you have the digital skills and you work closely with business colleagues, you can add business value. I am absolutely sure of that.
Again, thank you all for participating in this, for sharing. Yes, Hendrik.
Quick interruption here. We are still organizing the breakout room, so we have 5 more minutes to continue this discussion.
Good. I was just going to wrap up. So but I love this idea that Krzysztof and Filipe have highlighted, which is given the reality of resource constraints, especially people, right? We don't all have access to the people we need. Given that forces us to even be more disciplined about the goals and keeping them simple. Let's focus on business objectives and try to define them with KPIs. And the process is more experimental so that we can stop things based on the data that we've generated when it's not working, or we can pivot sooner based on the data we're generating. But then also the solution itself, as Krzysztof highlighted, it needs to be also, there's a dimension of simpleness, right? So that anyone can use it, and we thereby increase the chance of reuse along the way as a way to address these constraints. I think that's really powerful insights for the audience. I don't know if anyone else wants to elaborate on some of those points.
Maybe Nils, sorry if I jump in, just to add something in a very simple sentence, is we really tried to offload complexity on our providers, which were not critical for us. We need to clean up our agenda of what is not critical for our business. So we try to, every time my team comes, I have an idea on that, not strategic for us. We have a lot of private providers that are expert on that matter, and they do it much better than we do because they are expert on that. So let's focus on what is our business. Sorry.
That's fantastic. Kristin?
I really agree. And I think it's also extremely important to have everyone in your team to understand the priorities, so have transparency on what you're doing. I think that is key to getting that focus, because focus will give you output.
I would just highlight two key points around that. The first one is, clearly there's a shortage of talent, the right talent. And I think as a community, we need to leverage the ways of working that we were forced during pandemic. And therefore, when it comes to recruitment, you can essentially take talent from anywhere. And I think that will just help in easing the problem. And a related one is, while we definitely need, the good data scientist, there is also a shortage of skill set at a senior technology level where people can translate the technology speak into a business speak, and therefore are able to educate the boards of the organizations around the digital vision. And the second point is, I know most of the organizations spend a lot of investment to create digital strategy for the businesses. And my take is, we don't need digital strategy for the business. In the world we are living in, we need a business strategy for a digital world. And both are very, very different approaches and a very different paradigm shift.
If I may, I would like to add something to that
Please.
as well. I truly believe that it might be difficult to have a digital strategy. We need a business strategy and see how digitization can support that. And what we are currently experiencing is not only the move from IT understanding more the business, but also the other way. So we see a strong intent of the business side to have own data scientists and to make sure one understands more about IT as well. So I think it's not only a move from IT direction. I can really see the interest coming from the other side as well. And this is very interesting because we are having discussions who's now in charge of providing which skills, and we would like to combine the skills as well and not having data scientists all over the bank, but making sure that we don't lose knowledge and we put the people where we need the skills most urgently. And that's not that easy because there's a lot of movement going on. And I agree, Kristin, focus, I think, is the key thing to generate the output.
Thank you. Thank you all so much again for participating, for congratulations to you and your teams for becoming finalists. And as an academic, I appreciate immensely you taking the time to share not just what you have accomplished and your teams have accomplished, but how, so that's how we learn and that's how others learn, and hopefully can also leverage digital technologies to generate even more value faster. So I really appreciate it, and thank you again.
We're getting ready to start the second panel discussion. We are still in the good company of the people from Google Cloud. Now, before we go to start the public session or the public sector panel discussion, I wanted to check if Neil is with us. So Kasia, if you could please spotlight Neil. There he is. And then I can stop here the sharing and we can see Neil. So Neil, if you could please tell us a little bit more about the Harvey Nash CIO study that you have been and Harvey Nash have been working on for 23 years, because I think that's a very important study, right?
Yeah, hi, and very nice to meet you all, and good luck to all the finalists, of course. So Harvey Nash Group have been running the Digital Leadership Report for well over 20 years now. As you said, it's 23 years this year. And in that time, it's grown to be the largest study of technology and digital leadership trends in the world. And this year, we're delighted to be partnering again with MIT and very excited to have gained a new partner in CIONet. We're currently collecting survey responses for this year's report, and we'd love to have everybody here to take part if you can. Everybody who does will gain exclusive access to the full report findings, as well as an invitation to one of our launch events. We cover a wide range of important topics in the report, but we especially look at where the technology world is heading, how the role of the digital leader is changing, and how you can thrive in this new world. Early findings this year suggest that tech investment is going to reach a new high, and that more organizations than ever are transforming their business models. It also suggests that while working from home has increased productivity in areas, it's also created something of an isolated workforce. So how will you navigate in this new world? Well, if you take part in the leadership report, we'll give you fantastic insights and hopefully help your organization to progress. But very nice to meet you all, and thank you very much.
So thank you so much for everybody here. We will put the link to participate in the study in the chat, so that you can all ventilate your ideas, and so that we have a super report again this year. I would like to call Guido Lemeire to join us. I would like to call Sven Egyedy to be spotlighted. I want to see if Elena Liria is already with us here today. Marco Moretti is here, and please spotlight Marco as well. And also Aion Hancock, who is with us here today. So I think we are, and also Inès Kouraïchi from Google Cloud, responsible for the public sector. So I think we have our second panel complete here. And again, I would like to do a quick round of the table so that everybody can introduce him or herself. So who's who? What is your company? And then again, what would you have done if you were not a CIO or not a digital leader? If you were not in the position where you were today, would you be a rock star or an architect? What would that be? Maybe Guido, if we start with you, if you could please introduce yourself.
So I'm Guido Lemeire. I'm CIO of the Belgian Railway Company. We are an organization which is preparing for liberalization in 32. So we are an organization in full transformation. And as a CIO, that means that I'm covering really quite a broad range, going from how to manage station experiences, over how to perform maintenance of trains, how to organize your planning, long-term, mid-term, day itself, ensure train operations, but last but not least, ensure that our 250 million customers on a yearly basis are glad with the service that we provide them. And answering on the question, what would have I done otherwise? So as from the age of 10, I said I'd go into the military. Which I did. I pursued a career in the military, so I realized my dream there. At a certain age, probably I became mature, and then I shifted to IT.
Okay. Thank you, Soldier Guido, for being with us here today. Now that we're talking about trains, let's go to Aion. Aion Hancock, you come to us from the UK, and you work for Network Rail. Please explain a little bit what you would do what the organization does and what you would have become.
Thanks, Hendrik. And wow, two railway companies. Guido, we should definitely speak We've got very similar challenges. So I'm Aidan Hancock. I'm Group CIO for Network Rail in the UK. So we run the railway infrastructure for the whole of the UK, which is about 20,000 miles of track, and it's quite a busy network. And before that, 12 years in BP doing various interesting and possibly not so interesting things, and then a previous career in broadcasting and different sectors. What would I be doing? I'm not sure I'm much good at anything else. So I'm going to say, I think neuroscience appeals to me, and Hendrik, you know my interest in that. Maybe I'd have been an academic historian. Nothing to do with tech, apart from the neuroscience bit, which I guess is pretty tech heavy. So okay. Who knows? Who knows?
So neuroscientist Aidan Hancock, very warm welcome to you. So let's go to Spain. So let's welcome Elena Liria. Elena, you come to us from Madrid. Explain us a little bit who is Madrid Digital, and what was your dream back in the days?
Okay, well, hello everyone, and thanks Cionext for inviting Madrid here and inviting me here. I'm the CEO of Madrid Digital. Madrid Digital is the agency in charge in the regional government, in charge of all the infrastructures, communications, and all the digital system for the digital public administration. So we are in charge of every single infrastructure, every single computer that is in the regional government. We are in charge of it, and more than 1,000 information systems that we are in charge of. It's a very big, well, it's not a very big company, but we have very big objectives to accomplish. So if I weren't here, and if I weren't a computer engineering that I am, and I like it a lot, and I like innovation a lot, and I like my job, I would probably be painting. I think I will be a painter because I really enjoy it, and it's something that I had to quit when I took this position. So probably I will be painting, I think.
Okay, so painter Elena, very warm welcome to you to this discussion. Inès, let's go to Paris. Can you explain us a little bit what you do, what Google Cloud as well? We'll have an in-depth discussion afterwards, but so introduce yourself a little bit, and what was your dream in a couple of years ago?
Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me. My name is Inès Kouraïchi, and I lead the sales team for Google Cloud in France, Italy, Spain, and Portugal. We cover public sector customers. Our mission is to help organizations and public institutions reach their business objectives and reach their full potential by providing them the best-in-class technology. I'm a strong believer that technology and cloud in particular can help solve humanity's biggest problems. And on a day-to-day level, cloud can enable flexibility, collaboration, efficiency, and drive innovation at scale, right? So my dream job, it's a confession. I think nobody knows that. So I'm going to tell you. When I was younger, I saw Top Gun, the movie. And so this is where I wanted to be, a fighter pilot, like Maverick, Tom Cruise.
Wow.
Voila, that's my coming out today.
Fighter pilot Inès, a very warm welcome. So let's go to Milano. Marco Moretti, a very warm welcome to you. Please tell us more about yourself, your organization, and your dreams.
Thank you, Hendrik. So hello to everyone. My name is Marco Moretti. I am the CIO of A2A. A2A is a company which is owned by the municipalities. We manage cities, so owned by the mayors, okay? It's a company with 12,000 people. We have 7 billion of turnover and 1 to 2 billion of EBITDA. We work in the energy and environmental services sector. And we have a main goal in our new industrial plan to implement sustainability in the cities, in the energy, doing versus the renewable sources, and environment services going versus circular economy, which are the most important things. We are a national company, but in our business plan, we like to be a European company. I love my job because to apply technology in the business is wonderful. I think everyone loves the job. But after the university, I had a dream to become professor in the university and to do research of advanced technologies. Maybe in the future, I don't know.
Okay. So, benvenuti, Professore Marco Moretti.
Wonderful. Your Italian is wonderful.
Well, I need to practice. I will be in Portofino with you in a couple of weeks. So.
Okay. See you in Portofino.
Looking forward to see you there. So, Sven, we go to, if I'm not mistaken, Berlin. So, if that's correct, if not, please correct me. Tell us more about the Federal Foreign Office and where you are today and where you would have been if you were not the CIO of that organization.
Thanks a lot. Sven Egyedy, I'm CIO of the Federal Foreign Office, and basically the Federal Foreign Office does what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs do around the globe. We from IT doing especially, let's say, the jobs that we are responsible to do on one hand, all the communications lines worldwide, as we have customers that is distributed worldwide. And on the other hand, we are contributing to transform, let's say, the way we work and put an emphasis on digitalization with a particular emphasis on data and AI. And where would I be, or back the days? It's basically when I was a little boy, I always wanted to become an environmental activist and do something with saving the whales, but somehow it didn't work out. So I ended up in trying to contribute a bit by working in the public sector. So I found my profession, let's say.
You, this green activist, Sven, a very warm welcome to this panel here today. So again, I'm going to pass over to Nils, who you're in good hands, who's going to initiate this debate. And so Nils, over to you.
Thank you, Hendrik, and congratulations to all the finalists, and thank you for taking the time to share in public through the TV interviews, the CIONet TV interviews, what you've accomplished and how. As we mentioned at the beginning of this event, one of the objectives is to inspire others by your leadership through example. And so being able to capture that and let others learn from your experiences is immensely valuable. And we really immensely appreciate you taking the time to do that. As in that spirit, I'd love to focus on realizing value for your organizations and for the stakeholders that your organizations address, leveraging data and analytics. And for the audience, we'd really appreciate it if you could highlight, one key accomplishment that you're especially proud of, where you say, this is a great example of how we're generating value with data and analytics. I'd love to first go around and get a sense of what you're proudest of. And then we're going to focus on how, right? So a critical success factor that you would say, this is how we achieved this, for those in the audience that are keen to accomplish something very similar. All right? Who would want to start with sharing an accomplishment that they're especially proud of, that they and their team have realized through data and analytics? Who would want to start?
Icebreaker.
Okay. Marco, why don't you start, and then we'll go to Aion, and then we'll see who else jumps in.
So I think that just a couple of projects and the dream. So the first, I think that using data in an organization like mine, where we have assets, it's in the energy side. And so the context is energy transition. We have to increase 3.7 gigawatt of wind and solar, so renewables. In this context, the gas-fired power plants needs to be optimized and needs to be, let me say, as much as possible, keep it longer from an availability point of view. One project we started 5 years ago to get data from the power plants. We have 500 signals every second for power plants for 5 years of history. If you have all of this data, you can create a digital twin of the plant. And if you have a digital twin of the plant, you can try as much as possible to optimize the availability of the plant and the predictive maintenance, optimize the maintenance of the plant. This is important because renewables, they are very, very clean, but they need a source of energy that is doing the baseline during the night where we have no solar, we have no sun, maybe we have no wind, or the battery are, let me say, finished or empty. And this is very important. Of course, all the data will be stored in Google Cloud Platform, of course, just for the sponsor. The second project, it's a project in the environmental services. Every one of you, I think you know that the overshooting day, it's in July, you know, it's the day when the human race has used all the natural resources that the earth is producing in 1 year. So we have a problem. In this context, what is very important in the waste for someone that manages the waste like my company is to use circular economy to make it as much as possible. The waste will be reused as much as possible and reduce what we throw. In this project, a couple of years ago, I was creating a company. The name is A2A Smart City that basically has the mission to build a digital twin of the city, get the data from the city, putting sensors in the city, and thanks to this data to optimize as much as possible to keep it sustainable, the city. What we did a couple of years ago, we installed sensors in 12,000 of smart bins. You know, the smart bins that you have into the street when you put the garbage in. And so we are getting data. It's 2 years of data every 15 minutes. I have the data from a smart bin that tells me if it is empty or if it is full. I think that after at least 2.5 years, we will be able to optimize the route of our fleet that get the data of the smart bins and reduce the CO2 of our fleet, and of course, increase as much as possible the differentiated waste. The last is a dream. We started, 2 months ago with Google Cloud in Italy and with Telecom Italia, which is the data center, let me say, operations company of Google in Italy. Remember, the cloud is wonderful, but the cloud stores in the data center. The data center consumes electricity. Data center needs cooling and produce a lot of hot. So we have to identify as much as possible technologies to increase the sustainability of the data centers in the world. That it's forecasted in 2030, that 10% of the electricity worldwide will be used by data centers. So this is the reason why we have to create as much as possible sustainable data centers. So the first two are let me say, something we did, and the second is a dream.
Thank you, and those are great examples. Sorry, thank you. Those are great examples of how you're leveraging these technologies to generate your own data so that you can start learning about the problems that you're tackling, right? That the organization has its own evidence to start really experimenting with better solutions to these really fundamental challenges. So fantastic, thank you. Who was next? I think it was Aion who was next. Aion?
I always like to put my hand up.
Good, so, me too, I do the same.
Something resonated with me. Marco was talking about assets, and railways are an asset-intensive industry. I like asset-intensive industries, but it's about the efficiency and the performance of all those assets together as a system. So obviously with the railway, any degraded performance, particularly unpredicted degraded performance, becomes a problem. So you've got your obvious plays around Internet of Things and so on. I'm not going to talk about that. That starts to get us there. That starts to build us that comprehensive digital twin. So there's one of many projects I just want to talk about, which I'm particularly proud of, which is what we call digitized line-side inspection. So if you imagine a train track, there's trees and bushes and things growing all over the place. And we've got 20,000 miles of them in the UK. And you have to maintain every aspect of it. You have to maintain the rails, you have to maintain the infrastructure that holds the rails in place, the overhead electrification, all of that stuff. But you also have to maintain the vegetation, the trees, fundamentally, the other things, because they grow, they get sick, possibly, they collapse in high winds. You have to correlate with weather patterns and so on to see what's going to happen. Of course, the impact is there's a potential safety implication, a direct one, but also there's a performance degradation, right? Trains aren't going to get to where they're supposed to go on time. So what the team did, this was a multidisciplinary team across the business, and this is just phase one. Like all of these things, you can keep seeing, taking more and more value, adding more and more value into the future. So most trains have take forward-facing video from the cab. As the train goes forward, you've got high-definition video. We can't necessarily access all of it, but that's another thing, right? Legacy data and so on. But we can access some of it. And what we have done is combine that with aerial, so helicopter and drone, LiDAR imagery, hyperspectral imagery, and pulled the whole lot together into a set of models, which have effectively learned how to identify vegetation and what it is. What sort of tree is it? What sort of condition is it in? How old do we think it is? Does it look like it's diseased in any way? And then build that into a predictive dashboard, which allows our maintenance engineers to actually prioritize, which they could never do before. The way you used to do it, the way, you know, the only way it could be done is you just walk the length of the track and you look, you know, what conditions is this in? And we can do better than that. So we are now doing better than that. Now, the benefits, this is what makes me proud, right? Because actually tech's great, right? We talk about machine learning here and AI there, but it's not cool to talk about that. And it tends to put people off as well, because they don't, oh, I don't know what that is. That sounds scary, but that doesn't matter. The benefits are interesting because it means the maintenance can be done with far fewer visits, which means you're not putting people trackside, and trackside's a dangerous place. Trains move very fast. You've either got to stop trains running for the period of time they're there or manage things very carefully. So fewer people in harm's way, better asset information, obviously, better predictive capability so we can target what maintenance needs doing, which means, of course, that feeds in eventually into better train performance, better service performance, meaning things are more on time, passengers are less frustrated, everybody's happy. So that's what I like. It kind of hits every sweet spot you'd want from a business benefit.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Elena, I'm also based in Paris, so I'm thrilled and value the impact of your benefits and the value you've created. And so maybe you want to highlight one achievement that you're especially proud of.
Okay, we have many achievements in analytics, above all in Describe analytics, that those scorecards are in all the departments of the government, because we believe that the data, for us, a data-driven government is a digital government. So we want to apply all the data in all the decisions for the government, but also for the public services and to improve the efficiency of all the public employees. So probably the one that I am most proud of is the use of the artificial intelligence in the process of the government. We have launched an artificial intelligence project to optimize the management of the aids, subsidies, and other administrative process, for example, related with the aids for the COVID for the enterprise. And we have load all the documentation, this documentation of the company incorporation deeds in a big data, in order to use the data that are inside of the documents to improve the process. So we apply it in two use cases, sorry. One for the public aids for enterprise because of the COVID crisis. So we have improved the process and all the time that the public employees use to develop all the process, and employment aids also to companies for hiring women over 45 years old of age or in a special situation. So this is one that we are very proud of. To help the public employees with the artificial intelligence. We have more cases in the Justice Department that maybe later we can share.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. How about some of the other finalists, please? Yep.
So in Belgian Railway Company, we started with an enterprise data management program 18 months ago. So it's really a joint effort, business IT. It's really a really mutual shared program led by IT. But one of the key achievements that we did is during COVID, we were faced with a massive drop of people using trains. And once people wanted to enter again on the train, there was a fear to get contaminated. So typically to a railway company, you don't have a seat reservation. So you just step up and off you go. So what we did do is we developed on one hand a new app, which we integrated in the core app that all travelers are using. And what we are doing is we are combining in real time data from the train manager that says this train is occupied, this compartment even is occupied, people are standing, a lot of space available. We combine that with historical data. On Monday in September, there was in the past more occupation than on Tuesday or on Friday. We combine that even with weather info, because when it's raining, it influences the use of train. And we apply a real-time artificial intelligence engine, and it gives a predictive modeling that says, even if the train is now 4 stations away, by the time it will arrive at your location, the train will be fully occupied. And we integrate that in the app, so people can plan a route saying, I want from destination A to B. And we give now 7 to 9 suggestions in that app stating, the train of 7:15 will be full, but if you take the train of 7:22, you will have a seating. So up to you to decide what you want, but we do that in real time. And that is something that one hand, customers experience that it really an added value. And on the second hand, it lowered the barrier for people to use the train, because once it's green, it's safe to use the train. That's just one of the examples. There are a multitude of things that we did in the past, and there is quite a big funnel of ongoing things. But on which I'm really proud of is that we did it in less than 4 months. We developed the full app. So we are a public service provider, so customer is key for us, and that's one of the key realizations in that area.
That's fantastic. Very, very cool. Congratulations on that. Sven, you want to share what a key accomplishment that you're especially proud of using data and analytics?
Sure. That's why we're here. So I'd say it's a bit different what we use, as we are focused on qualitative data, not on quantitative data. And we have developed, in between other things, a platform called Plane, where we provide technical basis for using qualitative data. And I'm particularly proud of, as we used the first time, we call it a pol ops point, where we are using instead of, so we're trying to transform politics or policy, it depends on who is the customer, into digitalized solutions. And we started with this platform, and let's say it's a tough environment, as we have customers who are strongly believing in, let's say, non-digitalized solutions. So it was quite tough to provide such a kind of decision support system based on data. But we are strongly believing that we have to transform public governance structures into evidence policy making. And so for this, we provided the first platform. It took some time, so it was not a straight cutoff, as we had to do a lot of, let's say, fundamental strategy work. How do we want to deal with data? Which data are, we called it white data, just for the understanding which data are gray data, which are black data, which kind of data do we want to use? How do we want to code the artificial intelligence module? It had to be very transparent for sure, as we are doing, or we are supporting policy decisions that could have an impact on worldwide policy making from our perspective. So it was quite, let's say, a bit demanding in terms of bringing together the technicians and the policymakers to a unique team. And so this is what we are quite proud of, that we have formed a team that is living this PolOps idea. And on top, they have meanwhile developed something that they are doing PolOps combined with rapid prototyping, because they are so convinced from this project that they are just feeding on the next and the next achievement. And the technical platform we have as an underlying fundament. We are believing in the whole of a government approach. So we put it in the national data strategy. So if you're looking at the German national data strategy, you will find a platform called Plane that we have basically developed and that we are giving to all the other agencies so that they can do their own data projects on this. And for sure, we're using it for ourselves. So the next step, what we want to do is to monitor, let's say, misinformation campaigns that are targeting our democracies, and we want to support our democratic system by this. And there again, we have on one hand to provide a system that is very transparent, that is very clear on what it's doing, and it's very open. On the other hand, you may imagine at a certain point, we are dealing with classified data. So we have to go from a cloud environment into something that is old-fashioned, high regulated governmental stuff. And to bring this together, it's quite fun. And the team is enjoying it.
Okay.
My gosh. Well, it's fun, but also obviously incredibly important, especially that last challenge. Which is obviously affecting a lot of democracies, and no easy answers to that. So, and I appreciate that you've highlighted already what stand out to me as some critical success factors, right? Having these multifunctional teams.
Could I interrupt? I would like to give quickly the word to Inès, because I'm sure that.
I was getting there. I was just synthesizing, and then I'm going to move to Inès for that.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to highlight that in addition to the cross-functional teams that you highlighted, starting to take more of this test and learn approach seems to be an essential critical success factor. Inès, you've looked across many different examples throughout the European countries that you mentioned. Can you highlight an example to kind of complement this range of value that we've been hearing about from the other finalists?
Yes, I was trying to find an example of contribution that Google has made using cloud technology to, improve something. And I wanted to share something in the fields of medical research. I didn't contribute to that, but I am. This is something that is really amazing to me and really useful. In the field of strokes, right? So strokes in the US, for example, is the 5th leading cause of death. In order to combat that, researchers have been trying to develop new treatments and accelerate the delivery of care. So here it's the field of test and learn, it's the field of data analytics and trials and learning something out of data. So the team, it's the Johns Hopkins University team of brain injury operations. They have been focused on studying brain hemorrhage for several decades. Traditionally, the time to review a sufficient number of brain scans, so it's roughly 500 patients, it takes about 2,500 hours, and it's the workload is split among 7 to 10 persons, researchers. With and fundamentally, the cloud revolution is about the compute power that is brought and democratized in order to analyze a huge quantity of data. So the time per scan, thanks to cloud and AI, went down from 5 hours to just 30 seconds. So basically, you go from 2,500 hours to 4.5 hours. This is, to me, it's amazing because it supports faster experimentation thanks to higher processing speeds in the cloud. The democratizing access to the cloud actually reduced research and infrastructure costs. And it makes trial like a real-time capability. And so hopefully we'll get that technology to develop cure for a lot of diseases across the world. Okay. That's one of the, to me, close to magic contributions that technology can bring.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you. So we've got now, Hendrik, I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Oh, no. So we've got now this idea of I mean, clearly all of you have now illustrated really nicely the kind of value that you're realizing in your organizations by leveraging data and analytics. Let's get to the how. What would you highlight as a critical success factor in what enabled you to realize that kind of value? And I'll just open this up to whomever wants to share first. And I encourage the others to just build on what others are saying. And I'll be taking notes because what I want to do at the conclusion of this, which we've got about 20 minutes left, at the conclusion of this, I want to highlight for the audience some key success factors to keep in mind as they also pursue the kind of value that you've realized. Who would want to begin? Aidan?
So I'm going to go with my perennial favorite because I think it's the biggest one. It's culture and mindset in all the ramifications. And you just can't underestimate how much work that can be and how you need to find multiple angles to chip away at it. So, you know, you can get buy-in from the top, you can get buy-in from the bottom, but the middle management layers may not buy in. And it may be that your company isn't structured in quite the same way. So it's all great talking about cross-functional teams. How do you really enable that? And then actually, if you get deeper, how do you actually restructure the way things are paid for within your organization to really enable that? So it becomes kind of the default. It becomes natural rather than unnatural. And you can tell I've had a fair bit of experience of this. And then other aspects. Go on.
No, I was going to ask you, can you highlight, can you unpack that a bit and help and highlight one or two actions that actually addressed that challenge that you've articulated so well?
Well, so let me. So what we did, and I've been in Network Rail coming on for 2.5 years, and what we did early on after I joined was we kind of sidestepped the issue and sort of tried to hack it a bit. So set up a wholly ring-fenced digital factory with you know, enough people, enough money to do a whole bunch of stuff, but critically protected it from the wider corporate governance, the wider corporate financing processes. This wasn't to cheat the system. This was just to give us chance to grow into it. And the idea then is that inherently worked differently all the way through, demonstrated visibly to everyone involved. And we, you know, the business people cycled in as well from all across the company. Demonstrate to them, this is what we're talking about. It's not, here's me preaching with a slide, which of course I do a lot of. It's you're experiencing it, it's different. Now, how do you feel about this? And of course, universally they say, well, that was a lot more fun. And also we got quicker, better outcomes. Why don't we do that for everything we do? Now, that's not saying we've got there, not with the whole company. It takes a lot longer, but that was just one of, I think, that was one of the things that worked best.
That's great. That's great. Inès?
Yeah, I was going to reply to Aidan's comments with a quote: "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." And as leaders, I think for you guys, technology is a tool, right? It's an amazing tool, but it's just a tool, and technology is not, alone is not enough. One essential component of AI and data projects is the creativity and the work practices that the people will have building and using those systems. This is why it's so important to invest in skills, in culture, in mindset. And I guess for me, the challenge for you as leaders is how to create an environment that enables that. And to me, it's what I've seen. I can summarize into two things, but there are more. But one is clarity on the vision, and you some of you mentioned that before. Like, be clear on the future value of the organization, on the product, on whatever you're trying to bring for your organization. And two, I think create a culture which is tolerant to mistakes, a fail fast culture that welcomes ideas, initiatives, a set of processes that enables innovation and work as an ecosystem rather than working in silos. So yeah, to me, that cultural thing is at the center of the how you deliver such innovative projects.
And I love how, oh, Marco, go ahead.
Yes, what we did, I totally agree with Aion and Inès. In order to let our company be a data-driven company, one of the key points is this, cultural problems or the capability, the knowledge from the people to take decisions based on data. So what we did, we did a digital survey to more than 4,000 people, of course, just white collars. And we assessed the different level of knowledge and skills in the company, putting these guys in 5 different area and cluster. And then we have created an academy with the collaboration of human resources. In this academy, what we're doing is some pills, some learning pills, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that are teaching to the people, not so much to the high level managers, but the data-driven company is a company where every one of these 4,000 people, also the last in the organization, is able to take the small decision in the small area is responsible, getting data from, let me say, our database, putting in Excel, doing some pivot, and then take a decision based on that. This is the most difficult. This is something not yet achieved today. The second, I take the opportunity, the second key success factor, but Aidan, we have an advantage. If you need the data, is to get the data, no? But it's easier to get the data from the assets rather than other processes, because you just have to put some IoT sensors and then you get data, no? Okay, so it's a problem because you have to go in field to install something, but I will consider the most important thing, most difficult, is the culture and the people problem, not to get the data, because of this advantage of IoT, which is helping us to get the data from the assets.
Elena and then Sven wanted to add to it. Elena, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I will say that I agree with all of them. I mean, as a leader, I think that we must invest in the people, in the expertise, in everything that has to do with data, and we have to be confident. I mean, you have to trust your team and the results that they are going to achieve, because this is a long-term career. I mean, this is not going to be quick. At the beginning, when we started with artificial intelligence, it was like 2 years ago, and nowadays we are getting the results. So you need to be patient, because this is a long-term result, And I will add that there is a challenge that for me, it's very difficult to see how we have to develop it, is that in order to make data-driven services for the citizens, I mean, intelligence services for the public service driven by the data, you have to develop inside of your system the algorithms that have to be integrated with the services. And for me, that's the big challenge in the public service and in every company. I mean, to introduce the artificial intelligence inside of the system. That for me is going to be the next challenge that we have to accomplish.
Absolutely, and obviously we're all in organizations where there are scarce human resources, right? We don't have all the data scientists we want. We are all trying to innovate with a very limited set of talent. And so it's all the more urgent to develop some of that through practice, through evidence-based testing and learning internally, but that takes time, as Elena just said, right? So some real challenges. Sven, I'll let you add some points that you wanted to make.
Yes, but it's a perfect introduction, as resources are limited, and I think this is most problem we have. So I think one of the key factors is, as we have all limited resources, but let's say unlimited ambitions, if it goes to, let's put another digital project on track, it's key to put it on a CIO level or a CXO level. So you need to have a counterpart on the business lines that is saying, yes, I want to change. And there are, let's say, some projects or some ideas where you already can see at the beginning, we will have an achievement within 1 year, or it's, let's say, more, let's say, a cloudy thing that will not come to running. So I think the second thing is you need to be absolutely focused and committed, and you need to empower a team. So you need to protect such a team from a CXO level to let them invest in their ideas, to let them fail. So it's basically our, let's say, it's our, not our problem, but it's our deal within such a project to protect such a team, to give them space, to empower them. And on the other hand, to put in strict timelines. At the end, time is key in our business. And only if projects bring results that can be seen, that can drive a change, projects will be successful. So I think these are aspects, as long as we have limited resources, we should care about. When we are living in an ideal world, there will be other problems.
And I'm just finished studying a very large global financial services firm that has tackled a challenge that I think, you know, all top management teams face, which is how do we make sure that the scarce resources that we have, especially people, how do we make sure that they are going to those initiatives that add the most value from a strategic objectives point of view, right? And ensuring that they realized how little they knew about initiatives. Maybe they knew what they were delivering in terms of a new feature or new capabilities, but how those features and capabilities related to value, that was a question mark. And so they realized that they needed to change their approach to start learning more from initiatives more frequently, both about what they're delivering and, even more important, what kind of value are they generating for us, and prioritizing resources that way. That is hugely challenging. And so trying to learn from initiatives like that and introducing that discipline into the innovation process without killing innovation becomes an essential balancing act of a lot of top management teams that I study. Guido, do you want to add, you know, some based on your experiences and you know the achievements that you had described? What would you highlight as a critical success factor, you know, related to what we've heard from the others? Oh, you're on mute.
It's the combination of what Sven and Aion already mentioned. If I see how we did it in the railway company, it was triggered by IT, but we decided as from day one, this never can be an IT project. It needs to be a business project. And what we did is we ensured first buy-in on top, so executive management level, to ensure, are we really going to invest? Because there comes quite a significant investment upfront before you can show results. But we straight away took the angle of showing results, which really, and that's an absolute valid remark that you made, Nils, is where does value really matter? And for example, one of the key problems which a railway company struggles with is, bizarre enough, the train composition. And we took straight away the most difficult one. But we've put it under strategy, so it's neutral, it's Swiss, and we showed results. But I fully am aligned with Aion. The biggest cultural change is on your middle management, because executives always will aim for the company benefits. It's your middle management that suddenly is faced with data sets which is unknown to them, because they all had their own data sets and their own version of the truth. And so suddenly something drops down that says, this is the truth, because we all agreed on definitions. And it's managing that cultural shift and the fact to accept that everything what in the past was being announced as the truth eventually is for 80% the truth, but needs to be enriched. And using that mechanism allowed us at least to evolve to a new version of the truth, generally accepted, but, and that's really key, enforced, but also supported by the executive management. Just bottom up or top down doesn't work neither. It's a combination of both, and really that cultural shift towards a data-driven company. And it's a nice buzzword, but getting there is quite a difficult journey.
And anything that's highlighted, I mean, could you highlight, or Elena, I don't know if you wanted to say something, but what's helped you or any of you in your organizations really strengthen that data-driven, evidence-based culture, right? A lot of you have already highlighted a fundamental piece of this, which is generate good data, right? And create this single source of truth. Once, or assuming that's there, what else would you highlight to others as critical success factors for realizing or strengthening a data-driven culture?
Accepting the fact that the new data set that is being provided can and will be used to make decisions, because like Marco indicated, everybody can draw a data set from a database, create his own version of the truth, and based on that, take decisions. Once you go to a generally accepted new version of the truth, suddenly other people are taking decisions, and suddenly other decisions are being taken. So it's really key to accept the fact that the new data source is being generally accepted within the company, and that is an IT responsibility, that the old reports are disappearing. For example, within the railway company, we blocked quite a lot of access to production systems, but we share the output of new data sets. So you're open to use the data sets, but solely those that are being agreed upon. So at the end, bit by bit, the organization throughout the upcoming 5 years will shift to a more data-driven decision-taking process. But it sometimes comes with a hard cut of all data sources. And that's, in order to be able to do that, it's really key that you've got a joint program with business that is being sponsored, because otherwise it's just IT that blocks access, and still people want to go to the old data source. So it's acceptance of a new truth.
If I could just build on that from my perspective, I think what really helps is devolving the ability to deliver these digital data-driven products to the business. That kind of gets them fired up, because it's one thing to be preaching it, but then still to be saying it's IT, we'll do it. And I remember all the arguments 4 or 5 years ago when data science just became a thing. And like, where should we put the data scientists? In IT, in the business domain? Where are they going to go? And I'm pretty relaxed. You know, I'm happy for anyone to deliver something of value digitally, as long as they follow a certain set of rules, because it's very easy to do things in a dumb, inefficient way and duplicative and so on. But I think that really starts to bring it to life, to actually say to all of our customers, look, we're happy to do this for you, but we'd also like you to do it yourselves. That really starts to get people on board.
Yeah.
Elena, you wanted to add, and then Marco, you wanted to say?
I will say the same. By now, we are developing it from IT. I mean, the data science, we don't have a lot. We have like 1 or 2. We work with partners and providers, but in the business side, they do not have data science. They are happy with their scorecards, and they are happy with their scorecards in their departments. I mean, they don't want to share the data. It's a challenge for us that we have to convince them to share the data and to do a big scorecard for all the government, because it's going to be good for everyone. But well, step by step. I mean, we are beginning with the scorecards for the departments. We will continue with a big one, and the data science in some departments, as justice and in employment, they are beginning to know it, but it's just the beginning.
Thank you. Marco?
Yes, I agree with Aion and Elena. For example, in my company, data scientists, they are not in the IT. I would suggest to everyone, because digital transformation is so complex, is so huge, that we realize that from IT point of view, that IT alone will fail. This is something that which is sure. There are also some books that tells that a digital transformation fails 50% of probability. No? So it's so huge, it's so complex, that I think that we need to have the business on board. For example, data scientists in my company that belongs to the finance department on board. We need HR because it's a cultural change of the people that should be, they should have the digital attitude. We need the involvement of innovation department that in my company stays in the research and development and the M&A department. So we need it's something so deep, so complex, so huge, that the only way to do that is to be as a partnership model where the CIO is an influencer, is a coordinator. And what is difficult for us is to coordinate this heterogeneous table. But if it is heterogeneous, it will be complementary. So it is difficult to put all these pieces together. But if we are successful, we will be successful altogether. It's the only way to do, I think, the digital transformation.
We're at time. Once Hendrik pops up, that means that's my virtual hook around the neck. So just quickly to wrap up a couple of points. First, again, to the finalists, thank you so much. Congratulations on your and your team's accomplishments, and thank you for sharing those so publicly. I think a lot of people will find them inspiring, and that really is the key purpose of this is to be inspired by your leadership. So thank you for that, and thank you for sharing what you have accomplished and some key critical success factors for how you accomplished them today with the audience. I'm struck by this theme across all of you about the importance of data to create transparency and enable, I guess, a fairer process by which you can coordinate and realize these synergies that Marco highlighted across these heterogeneous teams, right? Or this heterogeneity, to realize synergies from that. It seems that transparency through data and evidence-based decision-making is key to that. And you guys have all really highlighted how to go about doing that. So thank you. Hendrik, I will hand it over to you.
Yeah, Niels, one thing that struck me as well is that if we look at the 2 panel discussions from finance sector and here from public sector, that how the topic of sustainability has grown immensely in importance, and all of a sudden it's on the CIO's desk, and that's so interesting, I think.
And like with a lot of technology, right? Everyone's nodding heads, but what precisely does it mean to generate value from this nebulous thing called sustainability? The only way to make sense of that uncertainty is through evidence, through data and analytics. And that's what I'm so proud of all these finalists in both of these sectors, that they are helping their organizations make sense of this important beacon of value by learning about what it actually means to add value in this area called sustainability. No one really knows yet, or some have made more progress than others, but there's still a lot to learn in that area.
Okay, great. So if I can ask all the finalists to keep your video on, mute yourself. We're gonna unspotlight you, because Kasia is gonna remove you from the spotlight here, and I'm just gonna stay with Inès, and we'll have a short discussion on Google Cloud's role in data and analytics. So if we unspotlight the different finalists, and in a moment we will announce who will be the winners in the two different categories. So make sure to keep your video on, so that we can immediately spotlight those of you that are winning. So if we could, yeah, we're still struggling a little bit. Unspotlight is the idea, Kasia. Not spotlight, is remove everybody from spotlight. Just I need a private moment with Inès here for now. So Inès, let's get started.
I feel very honored to be, the last thing standing between you leaders and the trophy. So I'll do my best here.
Okay, so Inès, what I wanted to know, you gave an example of this university, how they in the medical environment create magic with data analytics. Can you give maybe another example where Google is really instrumental in helping their clients in getting the most out of data with advanced analytics?
Yes, sure. I've prepared a few. I'm lucky enough to be interacting with a great variety of customers and partners of all sizes, different countries, various organizational cultures and stakes. One thing I see they all have in common, and I think this moment proves that, is that digital transformation is happening. Like it's happening now. And as Elena said earlier, digital governments are data-driven governments, and I couldn't agree more. I see, three major areas where AI solutions can help transform. First one is when AI is used to simplify operations. The use of data and AI, to streamline back office operations and processes. I think AI can help support a lot of things like decentralization of workforce, break down silos, and simplify internal processes. I can take the example here of a European, French one, water union, which had a huge database of water quality reports, all in PDF, right? And so you can imagine how difficult it is if you want to exploit that data. What AI can help you do is turn those PDF into explainable and easy to understand reports and exploitable data that drive decision, that save time, and that bring value to the community. Another area where I see AI bringing value is the transformation of citizen services and the move to a more citizen-centric approach, right? An example, in Spain, we have worked with the Social Security in Spain administration to develop a chatbot assistant and other solutions, which became the main channel to provide services to citizens during the pandemic. A few important data points here. The chatbot assistant took 1.5 months to deploy and to put in production, which is nothing. 2, it became the main channel to deliver information and assistance to over 10 million individuals. And another cloud-based service, which was an eligibility simulator, answered nearly 20,000 requests per minute in the week it was kicked out. So that's, to me, it's a huge benefit for citizens. Another example, maybe more for Guido and Aion, would be the use of AI in order to predict the demand for the rail industry. Third category is how do you innovate and transform with new services in AI? The example I took earlier in the brain research area is an example in this field. And another thing I would like to mention when we talked about the scarcity of trained resources and especially data scientists, we have a public data case study with the Moorfields Eye Hospital, and that developed models to detect eye diseases, right? And those were developed by clinicians that had no prior experience in coding or in deep learning.
Okay.
So here, democratizing access to top-notch technology for people who are not highly trained specialists is also a very important.
So you guys have so many great examples. I'm sure that if people are interested, they can get to you and the rest of your team.
I could go on forever.
Let's switch the topic here a little bit, because with data comes big responsibility as well. And so that's something that I wanted to quickly, we have a couple of minutes left, quickly wanted to discuss with you.
So two things are very important to us when it comes to data and AI, and it's embedded in the mission. One is our commitment to European sovereignty principles. It's like we are continuously supporting and demonstrating our commitment to deliver cloud services that meet our government's security, privacy, and digital sovereignty standards. That's one. Second thing, and I'm a mom, I'm a mother too, and I want to make my 6-year-old proud. So I'm going to quote Spider-Man, right? This quote is also known as the Peter Parker principle, which sounds more serious. And it says, with great power comes great responsibility. And this is very important for us at Google Cloud, because we have designed a set of principles, AI principles, ethical principles to guide us. We believe that AI should be socially beneficial, that it should avoid creating or reinforcing unfair biases. We believe that it should be built and tested for safety, that it should not cause harm, that it should not gather any information that do not respect internationally accepted norms. And so Sven mentioned that earlier, and this is very important for us. Every AI project with a customer or a partner gets reviewed by an ethical board, which is an independent entity in Google Cloud. And their only goal is to make sure that whatever application we're designing abides by those guiding principles. So ethic is at the core of whatever we do, as well as sustainability.
Do no evil is
do no evil, basically. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so thank you so much, Inès, for sharing that with us. And I saw that Nils has joined us again. Let me just get rid of the two.
Well, good luck to the finalists, and thanks for sharing your vision and your leadership with us. Very inspiring.
Thank you. If I could ask the finalists not to switch on their videos, I gave you a wrong message, in fact. So we're gonna not, only when I call your name, Filipe, only when I call your name, we're gonna ask you to switch on the video. So we're messing up here a little bit, we're struggling with this, but this is just because we are so excited about this, the next part. So let me quickly share my screen here so that you can see what we're going to talk about. So here we are. So we are coming now, Nils, to the part where we are going to announce the winners of the European Digital Leader of the Year Awards for 2021. And so the first category where we're going to announce the winner is in the public sector. So Niels, could you tell us a little bit more about the winner? And I think my next slide is the list of the people. Here they are again. So here they are, the 5 finalists that we have just seen. So Guido Lemeire from SNCB from Belgium, Sven Egyedy from the Federal Foreign Office in Germany, Elena Liria from Madrid Digital in Spain, Marco Moretti from Italy, from Milano, from A2A, and Aion Hancock from London in the UK. So these are our finalists. So Niels, tell us the winner is, tell us a little bit more about the winner.
Sure, and before that, just very quickly for the audience, the jury, we now have a jury from the past 10 years of winners who participate and vote on these different categories. And so the jury has grown, the pool of jurists has grown. And so we're really proud of the fact that we collect their votes for this. Yep. So the jury was especially impressed by how this digital leader has leveraged digital technologies to create a whole portfolio of value, from reducing operational costs and increasing operational effectiveness using digital twins for predictive maintenance, to enhancing the employee experience and thereby strengthening the customer experience, to generating a completely new digital business that is now the source of revenue, a significant source of revenue for the company. And this leader was actually one of the co-founders of this new source of revenue. So for many reasons, the jury selected the following digital leader.
Okay. And the winner for the European Digital Leader of the Year 2021 in the public sector category is Marco Moretti from A2A. Congratulations, Marco.
Thanks a lot.
Congratulations, Marco.
Thanks a lot. It was like the Oscar award. So thanks a lot for that. May I have just 1 minute? Yes? Yes. So I thanks a lot to the CIONet community, but as Hendrik was telling at the beginning, all the finalists are winners. So this is a very important point. Just the fact to be in the top 5 of the CIO of the public sector, I think it's very important. I congratulate, of course, also to Sven and Elena. I was surprised about this example of digital governance. The first, it was foreign, and the second was local. And congratulations also to Guido and Aion, because I was appreciating how the digital was put in place into this railways company, both of them, asset management like my company. Of course, thanks a lot to my team that realized what we did, realized that the digital twin of the power plants, but also realized that this company, the name is A2A Smart City, has the main goal to do sustainable cities for the future. Thanks a lot to everyone.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Michael. Congratulations. You really deserve this. And I'm looking forward to meeting you face to face very, very soon in a beautiful part of Italy, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you, Madrid.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop the video of Marco and we're gonna share my screen here again. So here we are. And so now it's time, Niels, to look at the finance sector and announce who is the winner of the Digital Leader of the Year award in the finance sector. And first we're gonna have a look again at the 6 finalists. So from Poland, Krzysztof Dąbrowski, from Germany, Melanie Kehr, from Belgium and Poland, Tomasz Motyl, from Sweden, Kristin Lindmark, from Italy, but he's Portuguese, Filipe Teixeira, and then from London, from the UK, Tarun, Kohli. So Niels, if you could tell us a little bit more about the winner in this category.
Sure. Well, what we heard from the jury was that they were especially impressed with this digital leader's accomplishments, specifically with the capabilities that this digital leader had built that then enabled the organization to respond in a way to COVID that wasn't simply agile, but was actually resilient. They were able to respond to a variety of opportunities and threats brought on by COVID in ways that also advanced their long-term interests. And that's what really impressed the jury, were the capabilities that had been built to enable that kind of resilience.
Okay, super. So it's now my pleasure, my privilege and honor to announce the winner of the European Digital Leader of the Year Award 2021 in the finance sector. And the winner is Melanie Kehr, the CIO and COO of KfW. So Melanie, if you could please join us here on stage. So I'm gonna stop my share here, and then we are waiting for Melanie to join us if she's still around.
Sorry, I'm not sure whether you can hear me.
We can hear you.
We can.
Okay, sorry.
There we go, and we see you.
I think it was a misunderstanding with the video. So first of all,
there you are, perfect.
I'm overwhelmed. Nils, Hendrik, thank you very much. It's a great honor for me, but first of all, it's a great honor for all our colleagues at KfW. I'm very proud of what we have accomplished, and for sure, it's a team accomplishment and not a person accomplishment. And the way we handled the very challenging last year with business and IT, but also together with the ministries of finance and economics, was something very special for us, and I'm still very enthusiastic about that. So the award I gladly accept. Thank you for this, but also for not only for me, but for the whole KfW team. I would also like to thank Cionext for the opportunity to talk about IT and digitization, because sometimes the focus is so much on business only, and it's for us key to deliver the value also from IT and operations to push things forward. And I think this is also a great way to show and appreciate what we actually need to move forward. And thank you to Cionext to give us that opportunity. And I also would like to add that it was a great discussion also in the panel together with the colleagues, the finalists, and I think we are a full group together standing for the same idea of driving digitization. So thank you to Tomasz, Krzysztof, Kristin, Filipe and Tarun, and I think I also accept the award together for all of us.
Thank you very, very much, Melanie. And I look forward to finally meeting you in person one day. So we're going to organize later this year an award ceremony where we will also make sure that you get a beautiful award that you can put in your office and share us together with the colleagues and the teams that you work with. So congratulations again. Looking forward to meeting you soon.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it as well.
So Nils, that brings us to the end of this conference. So I would like to thank you for being here with us again in this program.
Thank you. And again, thank you to the finalists. It's always such an impressive group. The different CIONet country units just do an amazing job of finding the best of the best each year and bring us an amazing set of finalists. And it is such a privilege to learn from all of them. So really huge thanks to everyone that's involved in this. I think this is a fantastic way to showcase the value of digital and the kind of leadership it takes to realize that value.
Absolutely. So thank you, Nils. Looking forward to working with you again in November, in fact. I also like to thank the team, everybody behind this screens, everybody that was with us, all the participants, all the finalists and so on. I have a last couple of messages that I wanted to share here. I would like to thank again our good friends from Google Cloud, Inès and her colleagues, for being with us today. A couple of agenda points. So we have an EMEA web conference on cybersecurity on the 27th of October. So that's organized by CIONet in collaboration with Stefanini. So make sure that you get an invitation for that. Watch your inbox for that. Very, very cool what's happening there. For your agenda, the 10th of November, we are doing CIO Next version 8. And on the 8th of December, version 9. And don't forget to fill in the CIO survey. So here is the overview of all the actions you can take. Go to cionext.com/8/9. Go to link.cionet.com/hn. Make sure that you follow CIONet TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on all the social media. And if you're not a member yet and you're a digital leader, make sure to join our community. And with that, we are at the end of this conference. Thank you so much and see you soon.
For the last 15 years, I've been on a quest to discover the DNA of the most successful digital leaders in the world. What makes them tick, what's in their minds and in their hearts. We are sharing deep insights from our world-class CIOs so that you get inspired, can learn and reach your full potential as a digital leader. If you are an ambitious technology executive, then I invite you to join CIONet. Join our community so that you too can realize your ambition.